A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
In a world that is becoming increasingly processed and oftentimes fake, some of us need to go back to basics when it comes to the foods that we eat. And I'm joined in the studio today by the founder and owner of earthfood.com.au as a website, Bronwyn Holm, and she's going to talk to us about becoming organic and going back to the roots that started in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve and God himself. And Bronwyn Holm, welcome to the studio.
Oh, Andrew, that was such a lovely introduction. You know, it's all about the Garden of Eden. You just got me going right there.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, that's the way God designed the earth, that we live in a garden, that we grow our own food, that, the food has all of the stuff inside, the vitamins and the minerals and the nutrients inside of it to make us healthy and happy. But what has happened in the world since then, Bronwyn? Tell us.
Well, so many things. There's a couple of things. I'm just going to run them off pretty quickly. So one is we microdosed glyphosate every single day. If you're eating a grain, what did you have for breakfast? A cereal of some kind, a sandwich for lunch, some kind of, pasta or something at night. Well, you've actually collected some glyphosate in your poison. You're being poisoned, yeah. A lot of people have...
Well, hang on, for the simple like me, what is glyphosate? Where does it come from?
Glyphosate comes... the real name that you would know it as is Roundup. And glyphosate is started after the Vietnam War with Agent Orange. It's actually Agent Orange, in effect. Different versions, different measurements of the constitution of it, but generally speaking, that's what it is. It's a desiccant, so it's used as a drying out product. So if you're having oats, for example, it will dry out the oats before harvest. So organic oats means that it's steel cut, blade steel cut, and then it's laid on the ground in the sun and they collect it and they bag it that way. But commercially, the big farms, they will spray glyphosate over it to dry it out, and it'll be dried out and bagged. It also dries out the soil. Now, when you have soil that's dried out, you kill all your soil biome, the worms, your microbes. It actually dries out to the point where it turns into dust and the good stuff, topsoil, blows away.
All gets washed away in a flood, which is very common in Australia, isn't it?
Very common. And the thing is, that doesn't repair unless you have the microbes. Unfortunately, our soils in Australia are so depleted, exhausted, thirsty and hungry that we haven't found the answer because we're constantly looking down the big ag product range. This goes back to like the 1880s, a culture from my great-great-grandfather, Earth Food, Living Microbes, with World IP, to be able to live in a bottle for over 10 years. It's rainforest in a bottle. That's what you'd expect in a rainforest, and it's only one of a kind. Even when you do use something with living microbes, microbes will die in 48 hours unless they're in the particle of soil or in a cellulose cell.
Wow.
Going back to the food, ultra-processed foods, what is that? That's foods that you'll probably buy in a box or a bottle, and we're eating more and more of that. That's actually ruining the gut and brain health. And as a result, even the food that we're buying in the distribution chains is lacking the living microbe in the tissue culture of the food. When that happens, that's affecting our gut and brain health. So growing food in living microbes means that's in the tissue culture. You have to ask, what did your food eat to become food? If it's grown in chemicals, it's part of the tissue culture. If it's grown in manures, there are now nanoparasites that can pass the blood-brain barrier. They're thinner than a strand of DNA. If they're growing in living microbes, well, lucky you, because it's almost anti-aging. It's so healthy. And, one of the microbes is by Mycobacterium vaccae. You can breathe that in. That's a natural antidepressant. Look, God's been good. There has there is nothing that you need that hasn't already been provided. It's just that we've been directed to use different products, and it's all product-based. But if we go back to what was meant to be, like in the Garden of Eden, I can tell you now, you'd have it all. It's just all there. Even the nutrients in the soil, the microbes will unlock all the nutrients in the soil, because we've been told you need to add inputs, add high levels of NPK. Well, that's high levels of nitrogen will chase your microbes away, if not kill them. So everything is in that soil for that plant. Everything for that plant, for your own gut and brain, is in that plant. And as I say, human health starts from the ground up. So I'm quite passionate about it, and we're just about to start a Victorian tour. But that's basically the beginnings of so much that I have to say. I've just written an article on the new GMO microbes coming out very soon. It's on our website. And I'm not happy about it. I think it's very dangerous. But anyway.
Well, let's go back. So, the microbes in the soil where Adam and Eve walked, like you said, had everything for their health. And it is so scriptural, because we were made from the dust of the earth. God made man out of the dirt. So we came from the dirt. And like you said, a lot of our health is actually in the soil, isn't it? When the soil is rich and healthy, that's where our health comes from. That's where our nutrients come from. I mean, I know years ago I started jogging around Fig Tree Pocket on the river there, barefoot on the grass for 3 kilometres every morning, because I was told that, running on dirt even, we absorb nutrients and minerals through our feet as we touch soil. And it's all very biblical, isn't it? So effectively what Earth Food is doing is you are helping people make their soil rich again and healthy again. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement.
So if someone gets onto your website, earthfood.com.au, Bronwyn, how do you help people get the soil in their backyard, in their garden, or in their farm? How do you help them get the soil back to a healthy state the way God designed it to be?
Oh, look, if only I'm the world's laziest gardener. How about that? And the reason being, I'm working all the time teaching biological botanical growing. When we just spray these microbes on the leaves even, they change the molecular structure of the leaf so that you don't have insects and diseases, because that's what, that's why God had it. And they go down the stem into the roots, into the soil. They restructure the soil. They make the roots dense, thick and strong. They produce the sugar for the microbes, and the microbes give back all the food from the soil. You don't need to do anything. It's all there. Look, we are a system within a bigger system. We are all of the same kind. If you have a plant that's sick, that like yellowing leaves, probably need magnesium. If I look at you and I can see you're a bit yellowing around the eyes, you might need magnesium. We are very close. When you see a plant suffering under the heat of, remember that last summer we had that awfully, in Queensland anyway, it was so dry and everyone was walking around complaining about the heat, and the heat was sucking the moisture out of your skin. The plants are suffering too. And I said to people, well, that's the same thing. You probably need water. They probably need water. We're very alike. We all come from the same source.
Absolutely. I mean, we can speak to plants too, can't we? That's a scriptural thing to do. Jesus spoke to a fig tree, not in a positive way, but he definitely spoke to it, and he had a response. And I know years ago, Bronwyn, I had a fairly decent-sized block in my backyard, and I planted 29 fruit trees. And I used to speak to those trees when they were young. I used to tell them, you're going to be fruitful, you're going to bear much fruit. And, no lie, a lot of those trees became very fruitful: mandarins, lemons, limes, mangoes, and I honestly believe we can talk to plants, because like you said, they're just like us.
Absolutely. They hold a frequency of 7 to 12 hertz. Earth Food has a frequency of 7 to 12 hertz. When bees vibrate their wings, it goes to 7 to 12 hertz. That's the part that makes the antibacterial part of the honey, the one that makes it last for thousands of years. Like attracts like. And within that, we've also got water. Water has memory. Plants have memory. There's a whole article on that. Plants, I think it's called Plants Being Sentient Beings. And where there's water, it has memory. You can have an intention, a prayer over a plant. You can do a blessing over a plant. It will respond. it will pick that up. If you love a plant, it can pick up the vibration from your heart to it has feeling. I know it sounds funny. It has feelings, not feelings like you and I have, but it has a response mechanism. I've got so many great stories, Andrew. I can tell you about the Russian experiment with the plants and the feedback machine that was hooked up to them. And
I've even heard a story of someone playing classical music.
Absolutely.
Over their rose garden, I think it was, and the plants definitely responded to the classical music. They flourished.
So just to let you know, I'm a hemp grower. I'm a licensed hemp grower in New South Wales, and we've got a hemp farm that's starting out. It's the world's first biological botanical growing. We're only using living microbes and sound frequency, and we believe that we can get 40% more weight in the crops, and we believe that we can get 40% more yield. And that means mostly these are for seeds and flowers, so we will get 40% more bloom. So I'm proving this with a third-party trial just to prove a point to all the naysayers who like to use a lot of input. Well, here it is, and this is not the first one I've done. We've done trials in America where we've had sugarcane crops because hemp and sugarcane are similar, and we were able to do conventional farming to biological farming, and they got a 40% increase in their first crop. So it does happen, and it can happen. It's just the way it's supposed to be. It's naturally better, that's all.
Yeah. So if people want to know more, like I said before, your website is yourearthfood.com.au, but you're about to do a big tour. Tell us where you're about to start speaking in the different cities and different nations you're going to.
Yeah, so we start actually next month. We're in Victoria. We're speaking to a lot of communities, and there's some churches in amongst them where there's some churches in rural areas, and they've decided they want to find out more, so they've invited me, and I thought, well, if you're inviting me, I was just wondering who else. So I just put the word out, and next thing I've got naturopaths, and they've invited all of their patients, or I don't know what the word is for that, but they've invited all of their database to an event held within their clinic. Next thing, a church has got a particular day that they'd like everyone to come and have a listen, because what I have to say is really something that you're not going to hear too much of these days, because it's something that is not. It's everything that is nothing to do with chemicals, and that's a big change for us. So
and it's nothing to do with what you described before as big ag, which is the big agricultural companies which really control the world's food supply now, don't they?
Yeah, there's so many things I get very disappointed in, like the seeds are dipped in neonicotinoid, which is a human carcinogen, and that's designed so that people who buy these seeds can't get a second generation. Often you don't even get a first generation. And so we only use heirloom seeds, and there's particular providers of that we know that we recommend for people. So we're going to Victoria first. After that, we're in Western Australia in Perth. In February, we're in New Zealand. April, we've got our first USA tour. July is India. Then, I know, believe it or not, so I got stunned with that one. And then our second American tour is in September. There is a New South Wales in there in March as well.
Bronwyn Holm, you are going to be very, very busy. And I think if you've whetted the appetite of our listeners today and you want to learn how to make your soil rich and healthy so that you can live a rich and a healthy life, I want to steer you towards that website again. It's yourearthfood.com.au. That's yourearthfood.com.au. The website just says Earth Food on it. There's a ton of information on there. Bronwyn is all about empowering you to live healthy, to live long, and to bring the richness and the health back to the soil just the way God designed it to be in the Garden of Eden. Bronwyn Holm, I want to thank you so much for joining us on 2020 Today.
Thanks very much, Ando. Thank you.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.